Hey, what's up you guys? Yes, today I'm going to be doing another one of my weird dark videos, and I hope this interests you because it very much interests me. We're going to be talking about some crazy hoaxes. So a hoax is when something happens that isn't exactly what it seems. For example, when somebody says a celebrity dies on Twitter but they're actually alive, or when a YouTuber fakes a pregnancy and it never happened. Those are considered hoaxes. And today we're going to be talking about 4 of my favorites. Number 1. The hoax of the balloon boy. So in 2009, the Heen family were creating a large aluminum weather balloon. Richard and Mayumi had been working on it for a while with their family, and then one day shit went wrong. Supposedly, their 6-year-old son Falcom was inside of the balloon when it floated away. This became a huge news story. I remember exactly where I was when it happened. I was on my couch, my mom ran into the room, she turned on the TV, and we saw Balloon Boy. Now this huge balloon was floating through the sky, and people were freaking out. I mean, they thought if this balloon crashed, that little boy is dead, and we're all watching it. I remember moments where it almost hit electric wires, it almost hit other objects. It was really fucking scary. I mean, the National Guard got involved, every police officer in the state got involved. It was a really big deal. Well, when the balloon finally landed, everybody was freaking out, hoping that the little boy was okay, and the little boy wasn't fucking in it. Instead, the little boy came out of his hiding spot, and he had been hiding in the attic of his house all day. So this is when people started to wonder if this was a hoax or not. Did this family do it because they wanted to get famous or get a reality show? Well, all those suspicions became even worse when the family was interviewed on the Larry King Show that night. Check it out.
Did he hear anything? Did he hear you screaming out, Falcon, Falcon?
You did?
You did?
Why didn't you come out?
You guys said that we did this for the show.
I'm sorry, but what was that, Falcon?
We did this for the show.
You did it for the show. Okay, what show are you talking about? Are you talking about hopefully a reality show your parents told you they wanted? Because that literally makes no sense. I remember watching this with my mom and we both gasped. We were freaking the fuck out. We were like, what? Well, luckily the host Wolf Blitzer didn't miss it and he asked again.
I heard what he said, but it wasn't really clear. What was his reasoning why he heard you screaming Falcon, Falcon, and I'm sure he heard his mom screaming Falcon, Falcon, but why didn't he come out of the garage at that point?
Well, you know, whenever we tell him things like, you know, it's a bad thing to do, he does go and hide.
Now, of course, after that interview, everybody was like, what the fuck? Who is this family? Why would they do this? Why would they fake their child being like up in a balloon, almost dying? Well, to clear their name, the next day the family went on the Today Show and talked to Meredith Vieira, where they made it a lot fucking worse. Check it out.
Anyway, somebody had asked him if they could he would show them how he got in the attic. So he was obliging them, and one of the guys told me it was for some...
Mom.
One of the guys told me it was for some TV show. So that's what he was referring to.
Yeah, the kid threw up. He was so nervous and so scared of the lies he was telling that he threw up. Now I know this doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but it really is, because when you think about it, they had all the police in the state, National Guard, everybody was trying to help this kid that was up in a balloon. But if you think about it, if they knew the kid was in the attic, all of that's illegal. Having the police work on something that you know isn't real, that's not just a hoax, that's a crime. Well, the court agreed it was a crime, and they went to court right after that. Well, Richard, the dad, or the mastermind that was behind all of it, pled guilty, and he was sentenced to 90 days in jail. Well, if you're wondering what the Heen family is up to now, they created a boy band for their sons called the Heen Boys. And their first song is called Balloon Boy. No hoax. I'm serious. Yikes. I wish that was fake, but it is very real. Okay, so our next hoax is pretty scary, and it's actually one of the most famous horror stories of all time. Now, I'm sure you've all heard of the Amityville Horror Story. They've made so many movies about it, documentaries and TV shows. It's a story of a guy who murdered his whole family in the middle of the night, and then when the next family moved into the house, the ghost of the guy before them started haunting them. And then it eventually possessed the new owner to kill his family. Now this is one of those stories that everybody knows, it's been talked about forever, and I've always just believed it. Well, turns out it's all a lie. So here's what really happened. On November 13th in 1974, a man named Ronald Jr. killed his entire family in the middle of the night. That part is true. He was found guilty and sent to prison, and then the house was put up for sale. Then the Lutz family moved in with their 3 children. Then supposedly that's when the family started being haunted. Cabinets would open, doors would slam, objects would move across the room, glowing eyes and demon faces would appear all over the mirrors. There'd be big painted get outs in blood on the walls. Of course, the family moved out of the house because the hauntings were too scary, eventually wrote a book about it, and then it turned into a movie. Well, a lot of paranormal experts were like, I smell bullshit. Here's just a few holes they found in the story. Number one, the Lutz family said they saw demonic hoof prints in the snow from some kind of a demon. But when the experts looked into it, they realized that there was no snow around the time that they said that story happened. Number two, the family said that the doors were damaged and doorknobs were ripped off and there was holes in the walls, but when they went into the house, everything was fine. Everything looked untouched. And number three, during this 28-day nightmare, the family never called the police. Not once. I'm sorry, if you're in a house and doors are flying and shit's going everywhere and your daughter's possessed and people are fucking writing in blood on the walls, wouldn't you call the police literally right away? Well, even though all these scientists and experts were telling them that this story sounded like bullshit, family didn't give a fuck. And their book made thousands of dollars. Well, here's what actually happened. None of that. Yes, there was a family that was murdered, and yes, the guy was in jail, but the house is not haunted. So what happened was the killer was in jail, and there was a chance that he was going to face the death penalty. Well, his lawyer, William Weber, obviously did not want that to happen. And the killer would tell his lawyer stories like he was hearing voices, and somebody else was telling him to kill his family. It was a ghost. Well, that gave William the big idea. What if he could go to the current owners and tell them, hey, let's say this house is haunted. Would you guys be down for that? That way we can create a story, sell a book, sell a movie, we'll all get rich, and maybe my client won't be so crazy looking. Maybe people will think he really was possessed and the story really is real, and then maybe he won't get the death penalty. Well, years later, William admitted that that's exactly what happened. He says him and the Lutzes created the whole story over a few bottles of wine. He says the house was never really haunted, and all those crazy stories that were happening were all made up. The craziest part, people don't know this. I didn't know this. People still to this day believe that the Amityville horror is still real and the house is still haunted today. And they still keep making fucking movies about it. There's another one with Bella Thorne coming out soon. It just shows that no matter how fake a story is, if it's interesting enough, people will fucking believe it. Now this next hoax isn't really scary, but it is kind of funny, but also kind of fucked up. And that is the hoax that Sierra, the R&B singer, was born a man. Now the rumor got started back in 2005 and it spread fast. I remember hearing about it when I was younger and I thought it was 100% real. And this was before the internet was like super popular, so you couldn't really research stuff that much. If people told you something, you believed it. Now the rumor goes that when Sierra was born, she had both genitals, male and female, and the parents decided to go with the female and cut off the dick. People were posting pictures saying like, look how manly her body is, look at her man's shoulders, look at her man's stomach, look at her face, doesn't she look like a guy in a wig? I remember in school everybody was talking about it, and they'd always bring up the Oprah Winfrey Show. So supposedly the proof was that Sierra was on the Oprah Winfrey Show and did an interview talking about how she was born a hermaphrodite. Now when this rumor was going on, Sierra wasn't saying anything about it. She wasn't saying it was false or it was true, which made everybody think even more so that it was just real. Then a couple years later, she was getting interviewed on a talk show and she said this.
Clear the air right now, let the people know what's going on.
Oh my goodness, there's
Speak
so
up,
many
people.
crazy, funny things. And you know, I gotta say, none of them bother me, but I'll just do it just to do it because whatever. There's one thing about me being a man or something like that before I was, something when I was born, I got a change, a hermaphrodite or something like that. Okay. They said that I went on Oprah and did it, and I'm like, okay, come on now. You know, if I was on Oprah, like, I mean, it takes a while before that happens for somebody to go on Oprah, you know what I mean? Like, that's really big, so we know that didn't happen. If you can find it, though, I'll give you $100 grand and fly you around the world and do everything for you. If you can find it, take it and play it for me.
So there you go, it wasn't real, it was just a hoax, but we all fucking believed it. Some people still believe it to this day, which is crazy because she's actually had a child, like she physically gave birth, so not real. But hey, it's fun to think about. Speaking of celebrities, here is our last hoax, and this is one that I genuinely believed. And just a few years ago, I found out how incredibly fake it was. And that is that the host of the show Blue's Clues died. So in 1996, there was a show on Nickelodeon called Blue's Clues. It was about this little dog, and it would run around the house, and it would leave little paw prints. And then the host Steve would talk to the dog, and talk to the audience, and sing little songs. And the show was becoming insanely popular, and Steve was becoming pretty famous. And then he disappeared. One day, viewers tuned in and saw a different guy. His name was Donovan Patton, and he was replacing Steve. Of course, everybody was like, what the fuck, where did Steve go? And Steve wasn't talking. He didn't do any interviews, he didn't talk about it to the press, so people started making up rumors. And one of the biggest rumors was that he died of a drug overdose, and Nickelodeon didn't want anybody to know about it, so they replaced him. Now, I remember back when this happened, even my mom believed that. I remember she came home from work one day saying, oh my god, did you hear about Steve from Blue's Clues? Oh my god, I just saw it in a magazine, and I was devastated. I remember I cried like all day. Well, it turns out he's not dead. He's very much alive. And here's the truth. So supposedly Steve was just tired of being on a kids' TV show and he didn't want to be on it anymore. And one of the biggest reasons was he was going bald. Here's what he said about that in an interview.
I knew I wasn't going to be doing children's television all my life, mostly because I refused to lose my hair on a kids' TV show. And it was happening fast.
So there you go, not dead, just balding. Now while he was on the show, he was doing everything he could to cover up the fact that he was balding. In some episodes he'd be wearing a hat, and in some episodes you could even see his receding hairline, and that really bothered him. So you're probably wondering, what is Steve doing now? Well, he's still around. He's a musician and he's a stand-up comedian. And he talks about Blue's Clues a lot, and it's pretty fucking funny.
When the mail showed up, I froke out. I would leap into the air and start gambling about like a lamb. I would sing this crazy song and I would freak out, and then I would scream like Pee Wee Herman at the ah!
So there you go, that is Steve Burns, not dead. And that is another hoax that fooled a lot of us, including myself. So there you guys go, that was me talking about some of my favorite hoaxes. If you enjoyed it and you want more of these videos, let me know by giving me a thumbs up. And also leave me a comment down below telling me if you ever believed any of these hoaxes. Also make sure to subscribe right down there. I make new videos every single day. And if you want to see more creepy videos of conspiracy theories or deaths, I will put a link to a playlist right below. Alright you guys, I'm gonna go read up on more hoaxes. You should too. And I will see you tomorrow. Or will I? I will. Or will I, probably. Or I'll replace myself with somebody younger and more attractive. And you won't think I'm dead. You'll know I'm just on my couch eating. Bye! Ooh, let's do like a little Kylie thing, like a little like drip. Ooh, little drips. Oh yeah, oh fuck, we're so cool, we're so rich!